everyone. James Labrie from Dream Theater, and you're listening to or watching the podcast Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show, and these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Talking into Infinity, a Dream Theater podcast. I am your host, John. With me is my very good friend and co-host, Brian. We are live on the CMS Podcast Network at cmspn.com and talkingintoinfinity.com. The show airs live every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkingintoinfinity.com, the show's YouTube page, or the CMSPN's YouTube page at youtube.com/classic metal show. Brian, what is going on, man? Are you used to the 2-week thing?
I am used to the 2-week thing, and I'm all set to go on vacation. But man, we got a killer intro now. That was awesome.
I know. That was like, we'll see. Maybe in the future Maybe in the future we'll have something a little bit better. Maybe we know somebody that can make us, a kick-ass video, like maybe, something like Dream Theater had on their most recent tour. Let's see if we can bring him on. There he is. He's the guy who did all those graphics in the most recent tour. What's up, Mr. Wayne Joyner, graphic artist extraordinaire? What's going on, man? Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. It's having to follow James like that. It's pretty intimidating.
Not a problem. So, real quick, since we were talking, during the day on Messenger, I told you I was gonna, have my little fanboy moment at the beginning of the show here. But, not just saying this because you're on the show, but Brian, I think will back me up on this. He and I went and we did the whole VIP meet and greet thing for the Distance Over Time tour at the Chicago Theater.
Nice.
And we walked into that venue and looked at the stage and went, what the hell is that? Like, we were like, oh my God. It was just so incredible. I mean, there was like, the grading, and then the graphics and the lasers and everything was like, what in the hell? I mean, and you are the architect behind that. You did an absolutely incredible job on that stuff.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, mainly what I did, like the backdrop and all the animations and the screen design and all that. So it was kind of a learning experience, learning as I went along, because I've never designed a screen before, or rotating backdrops. So it was pretty cool, man, and especially to do it for such a cool band.
Yeah. Well, Joe Gebhardt is right with us. He says he did amazing work for Distance Over Time. So there you go. We are not alone in our assessment of your work. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Not a problem, man. So, first question, might seem a little obvious, but you are a paid artist. So, I think the question is, are you actually a Dream Theater fan?
Actually, yes. That was kind of my gateway band into prog metal. It was like 94, somewhere around there. I was like a sophomore in high school, so I'm pretty old now, I guess. But yeah, a good friend of mine, was really into the band, and I was just a kid, and he's like, here's this VHS tape of Live in Tokyo. I was like, what is this? I've never seen anything like this before in my life, And it's the reason why I picked up a guitar, it was 30 years ago. So, and here we are, I'm working with a band. It's so surreal.
So you're a player yourself as well, right? So, yeah. I mean, you've got those, the Majesties hanging up behind you. So,
yeah. Since 14, 15-year-old kid, picking up a guitar, dreaming of being a rock star one day. that didn't really happen, but I'm pressing buttons, trying to do something.
Pressing buttons, the humility.
Yeah,
so how did you first get hooked up with the Dream Theater guys? How did this all come about?
So I would rolling back a few years, I've been doing like the design and visual thing for, almost 20 years now. 20 years exactly. But 2015, I kind of stepped out on my own and became a freelance designer doing this stuff.
Okay.
And at the time, lyric videos were pretty bad, and the digital stuff that bands were doing was pretty bad. Not knocking on any artist or anything. There was some good stuff out there, but, I was like, I can do this, So 2015, I started dabbling in lyric videos and music visual stuff. And I always, Dream Theater was my favorite band, so I'm like, that's a goal, is to like, a pipe dream is to work with these dudes one day. And
Right.
Probably like 2016, I started working with Inside Out, the label that they're currently on. And, I was working with bands like Kansas, and I did some stuff for John Anderson and Devin Townsend. And I guess Inside Out really liked the stuff I was doing. And I saw that for Distance Over Time, they were signing with Inside Out. They were moving over to that label. And, as soon as I heard the news, I like emailed the A&R guy and the record executives and like, hey, listen, it's my absolute dream to work with this band. I would love to do it. I've been prepping for this. And the response I got back from the label is no. They're like, absolutely not. Just to set expectations. They're not interested in working with anybody that works with prog bands or that's like too close to the scene. They like to be different. And I was like, okay, I understand. A little heartbroken, but not all hope was lost. So I guess that was 2017. Probably late 2018, August 2018, I got an email from the label saying that the band had some interest. So I got the email, I checked it like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I remember like screaming, waking my wife up. I'm like, what? Can you believe this?
Sure.
So yeah, it's like they have interest. It's it's not just it's like a job interview. So I got it. I emailed John and I sent him a link to all my video resume and reel and site and all that stuff. And I had a call set up with John and Jordan. They double teamed me on a call, and I was so nervous. Probably sounded like a little girl on the phone call. But basically the call was like, hey man, it's thanks but no thanks kind of thing. And I was just like, just give me one shot. Just give me one shot.
Yeah.
Let me take a song off Scenes from Memory. I put the instrumental, shortest one, Overture 1928, and I came up with a really
good choice.
Cool, yeah. I came up with a really cool graphic traveling back in time thing for it. And after I sent that to him, they're like, dude, you got the gig. So I'm like, fantastic. So little did I know that the gig would be designing visuals for the whole entire Distance Over Time, which is on the Blu-ray, and the whole entire set for Scenes from Memory.
Yeah.
So, and just blown away. So with the Distance Over Time, I'm like, okay, cool, man. So how long do I have to work on this? 1 month. So
a month?
1 month to turn around visuals for the whole entire album. So there's like no sleep. It was like the whole month of November 2018 was balls to the wall, 15 hours a day.
I was just going to ask how many hours a day you had to work on that to meet that deadline.
Yeah, it's like running and gunning with this stuff. So as soon as I would finish one, I'd send it over to John, get the thumbs up. And at the time, I was like, man, this is just not doable. It takes a month just to do one video for a band. So, it happened. I was really inspired. The music was, I was living through it, and it just happened.
Wow.
And was happy with it. And they're like, hey, this stuff, we're going to not only use it for the Blu-ray, we're going to put this stuff behind us for the tour. I'm like, all right, man, that's pretty amazing, you know? So John's like, we want to do scenes from a memory in its entirety, and we want you to design all that too. So it was pretty amazing getting to take maybe what's considered their best album and bringing it to life visually. So, and especially following what they did for the Astonishing, which I don't know how many people worked on that, 20 or 30.
Right.
And it was like me and one artist buddy of mine that did the scenes from memory stuff, and we did that in maybe 3 or 4 months. And literally, I finished it, and then like 2 or 3 days later, they were on tour. So it was pretty epic stuff, man.
So you went from thanks but no thanks to here, do a couple music videos and 2 entire records worth of tour graphics.
Yeah, and John's like, hey man, what would you think designing the big backdrop with the robots on it, and the kind of the haunted house backdrop for Scenes from a Memory,
Yep.
and doing the screen design. So I'm like, man, I've never done a screen design before.
Yep.
So I did like a little rectangle and chopped out some pieces, and just formatted my graphics to it, and it was a happy accident. I think it turned out pretty cool. So
Yeah, look great, man.
yeah, it was cool, man. And the cool thing about all that was a lot of people don't know, as the tour was going on, I was still working. So it was really easy to, if one night something was off or they wanted to make a tweak to something, I could do it here at home and just send it to their set director, and they just pop it into the show. So it was kind of like I was on tour with them, but I wasn't,
So when you start a project that massive in scope, is it like, okay, I've got a pretty good idea what I want to do here, and then does John check in, and are you checking in like every couple days just to make sure you're on the right track and this is what these guys are really going for? Or is it, hey, hole up in your studio for a week and then let us know what you got and let's have a look at it? How does that all work?
It's a little bit of both. With the DT guys, I kind of wait until the end product to show them, because the songs are so long. If I show them like the first 30 seconds or a minute, you don't really get it. So when you're watching a 6, 7, 8, 9 minute long song, there's so many emotions that go into that one video. It's especially with prog music and the changing time signatures and stuff, which is really hard to edit to, by the way. So with those guys, I like to show them the whole piece first. With the actual set, the backdrops and characters we did for Scenes from Memory, I would show that to John for approval first. I didn't want Victoria looking all jacked up or something. So there was a kind of a selection process. We did like a whole bunch of ones he could choose from. If he liked the way that Nicholas looked, or I don't know, the Victoria or the set pieces like they were in, and the staircases. Yeah, I got all the thumbs up from him first before the set stuff was. But Distance Over Time was one and done for all those videos. There wasn't any tweaks. They're like, every single one of them turned out cool with those guys. So, and
That's
Paralyzed
awesome.
was the first one I did. That one, I got the Paralyzed track, and I remember sitting here in my studio in front of my workstation, and I was like, what the hell am I going to do? It was intimidating, but it was just, I threw the kitchen sink at it, and people kind of liked it, I guess. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that leads into a question from one of our viewers here, Kale McLeish. He's our buddy from Australia. He says, do you get the BPMs for the songs, or what do you get given to work with on a job like the Distance Over Time tour?
So
is it strictly the songs, or?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So when I was doing the visuals for the Blu-ray, I just had the WAV files, and that was it. Before the tour, Jimmy T, their sound engineer, he gave me the tracks with like a click track in it. So I took that and I was able to revise the videos to kind of hit on the beat a little more. So it would be a little bit more impactful live. So there was an adjustment with that.
Have you ever had to do something without music and just say, "Hey, play to like this certain like BPM or this certain rhythm"? Has there ever been something that vague given to you to work on?
No, not as far as for the live stuff. No, luckily I've all had WAV files or something for that. So, but for the big Arion show that I did, there were a lot of graphics that I built that were maybe like 20 or 30 seconds long that didn't go with the track that they mixed into the show. You know, between tracks or between song 1 and 2 where there's a little bit of talking and there was just something playing behind them. So maybe that's the only time I really didn't have a track to do something with.
So they kind of like in that case just say, "Hey, we need something that looks cool. What do you got?" Kind of this like like artist choice.
Artist choice. Luckily with the Arion stuff, it was all space related, so I could just put like a star field or something behind it.
Right.
So do you design all of the animation and all the graphics that go into that stuff as well as put it together?
I do. Most of it's built from scratch, but if I'm in a hurry, I might grab some stock footage every now and then. So.
That's incredible.
Peel the curtain back.
Yeah, I love the you did the Wired for Madness video for Jordan.
I did.
And I love the middle of that where he goes into that like that, you know, it's like a Mardi Gras saloon 1920s part, and you put in all that black and white, look like out of a Charlie Chaplin movie or something. Like out of nowhere, this comes in this totally weird song. It fits so perfect, man. It was awesome, dude. That video is amazing.
Yeah, thanks, man. And Jordan's a real pleasure to work with too, man. He's such a great guy. So friendly, so funny. Yeah.
So how many of the guys do you actually interact with? I mean, I would assume not John Mayung. Nobody interacts with John Mayung, but even the guys don't. But
I had a conversation with him probably a week before the tour started. The guys invited me up to DTHQ, which was mind blowing as a fanboy. Let me tell you, I was so nervous.
Yeah.
So I got to go up. I actually flew from Las Vegas back here to Atlanta and then to Long Island. And I got to go there and watch the guys rehearse. And it was pretty awesome. And I sat in there for, I don't know, 12, 14 hours with them. And yeah, I had a conversation with Jon Mayung, and it was pretty awesome. Man. I was like, oh, first time I heard him talk. So, super friendly guy, man. Super awesome. They're all really great guys.
Are you allowed to disclose what you and Jon Mayung talked about, or is that like super secret?
You know, man, I was so nervous I don't remember.
I can relate to that.
Are you allowed to disclose what they were rehearsing?
Yeah. Now I can. Then I guess I can. But no, it was all just a run through the tour. But it was so cool, man, because I got to be in there with the guys, and you know, JP gave me a tour of all of his guitars, and I got to see him in the case, and you know, I remember like walking back there, and he's like, "Here, man, here's one." I'm like, "Dude, I can't hold it. I'm not worthy." You know, I did the whole Wayne's World thing. I'm not worthy.
So, on a tour the size of, you know, something like Distance Over Time, so you said you had a month to do the music videos, and then, I mean, I have to imagine that 3 to 4 months for something like that, you're doing 2 full records worth of stuff. Isn't that kind of like a compressed timeline as well? I mean, it's almost like 2 completely separate projects.
Yeah, it is, man. And you know, I just really had my blinders on during all that because I usually have so many other projects going on, but for about 6 months there, I just totally pushed everything off. There's no way that I can focus on something that's so big like that and all my other projects at the same time. But the one thing I was working on Jordan stuff at the same time too. So, but it's all related. I was kind of in that mind space with all those guys.
Sure. Makes sense. So
yeah.
Now, did they come to you and say, okay, we've got this idea, again, like going back to the whole artist choice, thing that we're, ticked on earlier. I mean, did they just say, here, go? Or did they give you input, or is it like how does the creative process go with Dream Theater? They're very hands-on, so,
Yeah, it was a little bit of both, man. I think once I kind of earned John's trust a little bit, and I hope I earned it. I still have it. But it's like, just show me what you got. And I was like, all right. So like the whole thing with like the robots, I'm not really sure how that came about. I know it was just like Hugh's cover had the robot hand on it and the skull. So I just kind of took that and let me make some big robots for a backdrop, and I showed him, and he's like, "Man, this is pretty cool stuff." So with one thing that was pretty cool, we did with the robot backdrop and the screen, there was a gap between the two. The screen had some mesh where you could see through it and see the backdrop. So I did an animation with the same robots, and I actually had the robots animating on the screen. The backdrop was still, so it kind of had like a 3D feel to it. And
yeah.
I traced the robots with like a lightsaber type effect, so
Yep.
it all felt like one big 3D set piece.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the mesh thing, because that's one of the first things I noticed, because we were, we were front row, and I was like, there's like two screens there. Like, what is that? Like, I had never seen anything like that done before, and I did notice that you had kind of put that into the effect, here and there.
Yeah,
It was really cool.
thanks,
What?
man. I don't know of another band that's. I think we were kind of pioneering something with that. So,
Right.
but it was pretty cool, man. And one cool story about all that, like, and how I really got to see that mesh and feel like the big robots had this like big monolithic scale to them when you're standing on stage with them. Opening night, I got to go to their opening show in San Diego, and I had to make some last minute tweaks and changes and stuff. So we had like a little editing design laptop station set up underneath Mike's drum kit. Like here's this drum kit, and then there's like a laptop I was working on, and then like the big mesh and screen, and it's so like massive when you're out there. So it was pretty
Right.
cool. And we actually the intro music that I chose for the silent movie part. So it really wasn't like working. So I guess just a few hours before the band went on stage, Jordan came back there and sat with me at the laptop and just worked something out, and boom, a few hours later, it was on the intro music. So that was kind of a fanboy experience having Jordan sitting right there, and we're coming up with like a ragtime type music that would be in the show.
Just pushing buttons, huh, Wayne?
Uh, yeah, I don't know how I got here. It's pretty awesome.
So was it cool to be able to be a part of something that we mentioned that Hugh did we know he did the cover and the artwork for that album. Was that someone who influenced you, because he's done some of the greatest album covers of all time, with
Definitely.
Rush especially, and like one of my other favorites, he did Parallels for Fate's Warning. I love that album cover. What are some of the album covers that you like personally loved growing up, or even love now?
Definitely the Iron Maiden covers. They're definitely some of my favorites, and probably a lot of like the videos I work on, you'll see like some Iron Maiden type influence and colors and fantasy and pyramids and stuff like that. So definitely those are some of my favorites too. I do like all Hughes stuff, and I like how the Dream Theater covers. There's always like a representation of the song on the front somewhere. I guess Images and Words had the girl in bed and Awake at the Mirror and the moon. But I really dig that kind of stuff too. I love his surrealism in his art. He's definitely a legend.
So, gotta ask, do you think you're going to work with the guys again in the future? They
I
do have a
hope
record
so.
coming out.
I hope so. If I play my cards right, maybe so, maybe not. But
Cool.
we'll see. You know, yeah. I
Maybe
got
with a
to work
better
with John on
timeline.
solo stuff, so that was cool. I got to do
Yeah,
John solo.
no, that's what I want. That's one. Actually, thank you for doing my segue for me.
Oh, sorry.
No, you assisted me, man. I appreciate it. Made it much easier for me. Yeah. So I was gonna say, like, you did work on his solo stuff. So obviously, you did, the video for the first single and stuff like that. I mean, talk a little bit about that. I mean, obviously you're a huge Dream Theater fan. You had done,
Yeah.
the Distance Over Time tour and all that stuff, and then John calls you up and says, "Hey, again, like, let's do some work together." So explain how that all came about and tell us a little bit about that.
I guess that all started about a year ago. I got an email from John. He's like, "Hey, man, I have some projects coming up for you." I'm like, "Count me in, man. Just you say jump, I'll say how high, you know." So he's like, so we're gonna do some teasers. We're gonna tease, got a solo album coming out in August. So it's a few teasers, and we're gonna, do like a few of them, and then the last one we're gonna tease the lineup. So obviously, there was Portnoy on there and stuff. So
Mhm.
it was pretty cool getting to work on that. And John's like, "Hey, we're gonna do a video for Terminal Velocity," and it's kind of a homegrown studio thing. So we're just putting the footage together. But I mean, that's what the fans want to see him playing, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's just I got to work on that, and then at the same time, John's like, "Hey, I have like this beard product coming out, so I got to do like all the Nebula commercials and stuff for Captain Fawcett."
Really? No kidding.
Yeah,
That's
it's all pretty
hilarious.
cool, man. Yeah, and I got a little bit longer to work on John's stuff. I had like all last summer to work on the terminal velocity stuff, so it was pretty cool, man.
He probably felt bad for you with that previous timeline you were under.
Yeah, yeah, and actually, man, while I was working on the Nebula stuff, my daughter was born, so I was juggling a kid at the
Oh.
same time, like, working on this. So it's like, man, this is par for the course, man.
So the timeline was easier, but your daughter made it equally as difficult. So things
Yeah,
balanced out to how they were
yeah,
previously.
but it's all good now, man. I kind of find that I work best. I thrive in chaos. So when I have my back against
Cool.
the wall, I'm like, man, I gotta make this happen. If I have like a lot of time on my hands, I'll just find myself goofing off, like, let's try this and try that. So I'm like, not really happy with the stuff I do. So when the clock's running, I feel like I'm doing better work. So
Cool.
So your artist roster, Wayne, and we were talking about this before. Ariane, Michael Romeo from Symphony X, Primal Fear, which I love the Hounds of Justice video.
thanks,
That
man.
video, you've got to go see it. It's fire in the desert, bombs being dropped. You've got a creature spitting fire like a hydra. Is that what you were talking about? Like your Maiden influence, I noticed in that part of
Yeah.
that one video. And you've got all of the perfect metal elements. What was it like working with Primal Fear?
Well, actually, it's that was with Frontiers, who
Okay.
is a really big client of mine. That label, they really take care of me. I probably do 3 or 4 videos a month for Frontiers. So Primal Fear was cool. I didn't have like a lot of interaction with them. Matt, the bass player, was kind of a puppet master for that, so approving it. But yeah, it was cool, man, and I love working with power metal bands like Primal Fear too. They're fantastic, and Michael, I'm good buds with Michael, their drummer, so it's pretty cool stuff.
Like
And
when I
Matt,
watch some of your videos, like I see like and I hope you'll take this as a compliment. It's like a Stan Lee meets H.R. Geiger meets David Fincher.
thanks, man.
I hope that's a compliment because that dude, you could put all 3 of these in those type of things in your videos, and I could just sit there and watch them for hours. I mean, WayneJoyner.com, right? You have 100 videos on there, I think, don't you?
Yeah, and I haven't updated it in about a year, so it's
Oh wow.
much more that I need to put on there too. But I'm a child of the '80s, so a lot of stuff that I grew up in the '80s, like Blade Runner and those kind of movies, really, I guess, kind of sunk into my brain. Saturday morning cartoons and stuff like that. So I really just feel like a kid getting to design and recreate the stuff I kind of grew up with. And like you may see like a bunch of cyberpunk videos that I do. That's definitely the Blade Runner, Dune influences. You know,
Yep.
maybe I'm the only person in the world who likes the Dune movie, but I definitely try to put some of that stuff in the work that I do.
Yeah, the Dune movie is definitely an acquired taste, man. That's
Hey, but Toto did the soundtrack, man. That's love to
true.
work with those guys one day too. I know if Steve's listening. I'm for hire.
Hey, it worked with Dream Theater.
Yeah, yeah. And I just did a video for Dennis DeYoung. That was pretty cool. I got to work with him. You know, Dennis used to be in Styx.
Yeah.
Yep.
So super cool guy, man. So he's like, you ever in the Chicago area? We got to go and have some pizza. So I was like, absolutely, pizza with Dennis would be awesome.
Just schedule a trip to Chicago. Just like, hey, Dennis, funny thing, I'm actually in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm here in Chicago. Let's go eat pizza.
Nice.
So I was doing some research. Is it true that you kind of started honing your craft into all this video stuff, working at the Weather Channel or for a weather station?
Yeah, I worked at the Weather Channel for a few years. You know that, and honestly, that's where I really learned how to do big screen graphics. You know, they had a gigantic set there with a humongous screen, a bunch of screens, and you know, I got to work on Hurricane Week and Tornado Week and Space Week. So I would design set pieces for all the monitors in the set. You know, I think I did one where I had a tornado and I would time it that would go from one monitor and jump to the big green screen behind them. So it was like they're inside a giant tornado. So it was pretty cool, man. And I got to do some of the wraps that they would put on the tornado chaser trucks. And it was pretty cool, man. It was like being in the movie Twister. You know?
Nice.
Working on Hurricane Sandy graphics and stuff like that, man, it was pretty amazing.
So how did you first break into the music industry, coming from, a background, like you say, at the Weather Channel?
Actually, I was attending, I guess it was like 2004, 2005. I started attending the Prague Power USA Festival here in the US, which is absolutely amazing if you guys have never been to it. It's 4 days of the best prog metal bands in the world
Right.
here in America. So that's my little plug out to those guys. But yeah, 2004, I was attending the fest for a few years, and I was working here in Atlanta, doing video and stuff like that. And 2008, Glenn Harveston, the promoter, had a T-shirt contest, and I'm like, man, I totally can do that. So I entered the contest, and I won it, luckily. So I got to design the T-shirt for the festival that year, 2008, and prior to that, he was doing like a roster video that would announce the bands for the next year.
Mhm.
And I'm like, dude, just give me a shot. I can do that. So yeah, I did the first roster video, which I made it like a 30-minute long movie trailer, like hyping the bands, like giving a lot of mystique to who's playing next year.
Mhm.
And I did that the first time, and Glenn's like, welcome to the crew. So I joined the Prague Power crew then, and I became the art director for the festival. So I've been designing the T-shirts every year since then. We always come up with a cool theme that you might find kind of Iron Maidenish on some of the T-shirts that I've done. So and I do the roster video every year for them. But as I was doing this, and I was at the Weather Channel, I'm like, I kind of like would be doing music stuff. So I built up some contacts. Some of the bands I kind of kept in touch with, and once I started out on my own, I hit up those contacts. I'm like, hey, let's do some videos. So my first big break, I guess, on my own was doing videos for Prosthetic Records. I don't know if you ever heard of those guys.
Oh yeah.
Based
Oh yeah.
out of California. It was some heavy bands you know, I believe the first lyric video I did was for a band called Ex Mortis, and it was pretty cool. I'm not sure where those guys are now, but the video is pretty cool. And I did some videos for a band called Holy Grail. That was pretty cool. And I guess the first big break I had with prog metal bands doing a prog metal video was I did a video for the band Murath. They're out of Tunisia. It's a really cool band, by the way. That was pretty cool. And then I landed a gig with the Inside Out happened right after that. And I did this really trippy video for John Anderson, you know, with fish flying in the sky and, you know, eyeballs and stuff. And yeah. So I guess that's how I kind of worked in a little bit. And I really tried to hustle a lot then too, since, you know, this is how I keep the lights on, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, after a few months now, I guess I built up, you know, some videos I could show other labels or bands that would possibly have interest in this, you know. So I mean, I just spammed every record label I could think of. I'm like Frontiers, AFM, Nuclear Blast, Napalm, you name it, Metals, all of them, and nobody emailed me back. So luckily, after multiple spam emails and, you know, I guess borderline harassment, I heard back from Frontiers, and man, it's just been a beautiful working relationship with them for maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now.
Right.
And I've got to work with so many killer bands on that label. Striper has been amazing. I've become really good buddies with Michael Sweet, you know, doing all this stuff, and he's just so awesome. I really feel like I'm a part of his like crew now, because anytime they need a lyric video or something that's not a big production, he always gives me a call, and I'm like, absolutely, man, I'll always say yes to anything you want to send my way, dude. So I maybe done 6-7 videos for Striper, and I got to work with Sweet and Lynch. Working with Michael Sweet and George Lynch was pretty awesome, and it's been great, man. So pretty much every band on that roster I've had a chance to work with.
Revolution Saints.
Yeah, those guys too, man. Dean is a nice guy. Doug
Love
Aldrich.
that band.
Yeah, it's so surreal getting to work with so many guitar heroes. You know, I got to work with Joel Hoekstra. Actually did I did a full-on 2D cartoon for him. Me and actually, if I can give a shout out, I know he's watching, my partner Crown Lucas. He's an amazing illustrator in Brazil. So he and I collaborate on a lot of those 2D videos. I'll do all the animation and like editing and, you know, polishing everything over, and he'll do like the actual illustrations for me, and it's pretty awesome, man. So we did that for Joel Hoekstra. We did it for Jason Beeler last year. It's been pretty cool, man. And I got to do one for Andy James. You know, Andy's in Five Finger Death Punch now, but last year I did a Halloween video for him, like a cartoon Halloween video. And he's like, yeah, man, just make it gory and, you know, like a really messed up Scooby-Doo episode. So I was like, you got it, man. So yeah, man, it was pretty cool. It was like Andy was the villain in it, and it was very Rob Zombie-ish. So it was pretty cool, man.
So going back to your prog power, how you were working with that, did you get to see the show, or were you involved at all with what I think is the greatest moment I've ever seen and not got to go live, but the 2016 Fates Warning playing Awaken the Guardian in its entirety, bringing back original singer John Arch?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
They were there? Oh God.
I was there. Yeah. And I actually did the roster video a year before that, so, you know, hype that up. So it was pretty cool, man. And Portnoy was in the crowd for that too.
Was he?
The next year he was doing his Shattered Fortress project, And actually, I did the logo for that. I couldn't tell Jon and them that I did a logo for Portnoy before them. I didn't want to like mess anything up.
No.
So
Right.
yeah, and I don't even know if Mike knows I did the logo. I don't know him. I did the logo for Prague Power, and I guess Mike liked it so much that he used it for that. But yeah, the Fates Warning was awesome, man. I was there for that, and I was there for them in 2008 when they played with Ray. Ray was singing with them.
That's awesome. I couldn't get anybody to go to that. And it wouldn't have been that far of a drive from Cleveland to Atlanta, but it's like, other than maybe my, trying to coax my wife, she doesn't want to hear a song about, like witches and fire giants, entire album, based on that type of, what I mean, stuff. But I mean, I just worship that album. The fact that they brought back Jon for that, and there's a whole, I watch it online, all the time. It's such a great show. I wish I could have been there. I'm very jealous you were there live.
Yeah, and man, that's I think that's really the beginnings of prog metal was like the Arch era Fates Warning. That and those first Queensryche albums. I guess that's like '84. That for me is when prog metal kind of started. And I think Dream Theater just kind of became the OG band when it was just when words came out. It's like two sides to it. There's Dream Theater and then there's everything else. So that's just the way you kind of look at it.
So, of everybody you've worked with, I'm trying to phrase this properly. So, do you have anybody that not saying like, oh, who was a big a-hole to work with, but like who probably presented like the biggest challenge to you in terms of like what they wanted, or length of project, or just something that proved to be really difficult that you had to really dig down to get completed properly?
Oh man, I would say 99.9% of the people I work with are pretty cool. Usually the managers are the hard ones to deal with. The managers are usually the a-holes. Thankfully, I sometimes I get to bypass that. As far as in, I got to be really careful here. As far as like difficult as like in hard to please goes, man, let me try to put my finger. I've had a lot of videos get rejected. I've turned some videos in, and some clients have been like, we can't use this. That's happened before. So it's a bit of a. At first, that was a bit of an ego thing, like, oh shit, But that's the business, man. You can't make everybody happy. Art's so subjective, But I find like the older prog rock bands from that era, like the '70s, are pretty tough to make happy on videos.
Really?
I don't know if I want to call out anybody, but I really enjoy Kansas. Kansas is awesome. I've got to know Phil, the drummer, pretty good, and I've done maybe 6 videos. I did 3 videos off the last album for him, but the very first video I did for him was tough. I was really in over my head, and I'm working with a legendary band like Kansas, and like just everything I was throwing at them, it's like, we're not digging this. So I was like, oh. But I got a second shot to work with those guys on another video, and they were cool with it. So, but yeah, I would find that era of people or bands that are pretty tough to please. They've kind of seen it all and done it all. And I mean, what else can you give those guys that they haven't accomplished?
Yeah,
So,
that's weird, man. I would think with bands like that back then, like they were musically, like things were so much more open minded when you're talking about stuff like like Genesis and all that, all that '70s prog. I mean, it's like you would think that something like what you're doing, like just saying, hey, check out this cool thing I did, like they would be a little more open to it. Like what makes, like, are they just like really picky, or like what?
Yeah, they're a little picky, and I think a lot of those bands from that era aren't really used to the whole new digital age. So they're used to the big live, actually music videos that are filmed with a camera. So like lyric videos are like so foreign to them. They're like, we're not gonna do that, And I understand, a lot of lyric videos can be kind of a joke sometimes, like a PowerPoint presentation. But I really try to like take every video that I do and really make it official video quality. That's what I really try to offer bands and clients. Like, and if it's a band that has like a misconception or about lyric videos, because I've worked with a whole bunch of guys who are like, man, it's not us. It's cheesy, it looks bad, but like, I'm like, listen, I can take your ideas, and it's not gonna just be text with a moving background. I really can take that and tell a story with it. And I think the first band that guy that I really had an opportunity to do that with was Ariana. I emailed him, and he's like, yeah. And a few months later, he's like, man, I've got 3 lyric videos I have a new album called The Source, and I have 3 lyric videos. It's not going to be easy. I really want you to bring my music to life visually. And after that, I want you to do my live show. And this is the first live show that I ever worked on. And I'm like, man, I have no clue how to do that. So yeah, I did 3 videos for him. I did one called Everybody Dies. That was pretty cool. They had all these amazing vocalists in it. And I'm like, how am I going to get all these vocalists in like pictures or images in the video? Because I don't have any like live video of these guys. So we came up with an idea of adding their pictures in to make it feel like they were a part of the video, like their title, like the president or the captain. And it turned out really cool, man. It's maybe it's dated now 5 years later, but at the time I think we were really doing something, pioneering some cool things for lyric videos. I did one called Run Apocalypse Run. That was pretty cool. And I did one called Star of Sierra, which I think was the best one out of the 3. And those actually became part of the live show too. When he played Star of Sierra live, the lyric video played behind him. And I don't know how they timed the vocalist to the lyrics, but it was spot on. It was pretty cool how that all worked out. But Arjun's a perfectionist, so they probably practiced it like a million times to get it right. But
right,
that was an awesome experience too, man. Getting to go over to the Netherlands and experience his first show ever.
That's awesome. So, how does it differ, or does it differ, having to go from making media for something people are going to watch on their computer or their TV or their phone, and as opposed to doing something that's going to be seen in front of thousands of people? I mean, is there a difference to that, or is it 2 completely different mindsets? Like how does that work?
No, actually, I just go. I design everything as if it's going to be played on a big screen. Just if it's on a phone, if it's on the screen, it's going to be the same quality. I'm pretty sure that most of the videos that I do are probably watched on the phone, but I just keep the idea that they're going to be played in a 4K theater somewhere.
That's awesome.
So the $1 million question, Wayne, when is the Wayne Joyner directorial motion picture debut? Do you have, obviously you probably have aspirations of getting into actually like making maybe at least short films, or do you actually want to make like a full-length motion picture at some point?
Maybe, man. I wouldn't mind doing a full-length motion picture with maybe Dream Theater music set to it or something like that. Might be kind of neat, but I guess right now I'm pretty content doing this. Get to work with heroes.
Well, there leads into a question. Kale asks, joining in on this last question, are you working as a hired professional or as a fan when you work with these bands?
Both. I'm a fan when I start, and when I end, I'm not a fan. It depends on how they are.
So without naming a band, so have you been approached by bands and said, you know what, it's not that, I don't appreciate your music, but I'm not feeling this, so I don't feel like I can make something out of this. Has that happened before?
Oh yeah, it happens once a week, maybe.
Oh really?
I get so many emails from bands, and I probably turn down 90% of the bands that reach out to me. So I don't have to hustle anymore. It's I'm very lucky to have like word of mouth now, and the Dream Theater stuff really helped. It's like so many like bands that see that are like want to, I'm really lucky that they, they want to reach out and work with me. So, but some of the bands, I try to be like a Jedi about it and be like, I don't think this is going to work out, or
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to work out. But
Right.
yeah, it's sometimes not a good fit. Like I have like a really bombastic style to what I do. It's very in your face and face melting. But it's some bands are like really slow paced or doom metal or funeral dirges or stuff like that. It's not a good fit. And I'm upfront with them. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be a good fit. So I do have other animators and designers that I know that I may pass them along to. But yeah, it happens all the time, man. So can't do any country videos.
It's probably a good thing, man. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a good fit. No.
So do you have a preference between an artist coming to you and saying, just go for it, and then we'll pick it apart when you're done with the full thing, we'll give you a little tweaks, or do you prefer if they come to you and say, okay, try this, do that, here's our concept, yada yada, like which would be your preference?
I guess since I'm used to it now, I really like just going for it. I've gotten kind of used to pulling rabbits out of my hat and just making something of nothing. So I guess I kind of like thrive in chaos. So
Mhm.
I kind of like just like let them give me a blank slate and see what I come up with. That way it's like there's
So
no pressure.
right.
Yeah, it's like if they like
So
it, they like it. If they don't, they don't.
I mean, you're a guitar player, and so obviously you have that creative, the musically creative side in you. So is it, and this is probably a stupid question, but I've always wondered this about artists, because like I used to play in local bands, so I wrote songs and stuff, and writing lyrics and whatnot, it kind of like it just hits you. You're like, oh, you get this
Yeah.
feeling off of the music, and you're like, you did so. Is it the same way with artwork for you? Is it like, oh, this sounds kind of like, or this sounds kind of like, is it that, or is it just like, how do you come up with your ideas?
That's a good question, man. I it may sound kind of silly, but I really just like I have to become one with the music. Like I'm listening to it. I have to feel it. I guess I go up to my Zen place, but it's kind of an emotional thing for me. It's after working on so many songs. I've probably done 200 videos, but there's always kind of a formula to almost every single one of them. So it's whenever like the lead solo comes in, I have to put something up that's gonna put some goosebumps.
Yeah.
And like I always try to have like a big bombastic ending. So it's really like going back to my bringing up in the 80s with like the big explosions and the hyped up movie trailers. That's really what I try to do with it. And it's like after I mean I've watched a million times. Like I've done like a video like I've watched a million times. I've edited it on a million times. But at the end of that, and if I've seen it that many times and I still get goosebumps, I know it's gonna be cool. And I know the band is gonna like it. Hopefully, it's if I feel that way after 100 views, I hope they feel that way after the first view. So that's
Yeah.
just the way that I kind of my formula with it.
So, all right, bringing it back to the Dream Theater fan thing, we have to ask. We have to just talk some Dream Theater since we've talked
Okay.
art and all that kind of stuff. Do you have a favorite record?
I do. I do have a favorite record, and I would have to say that Awake is my favorite Dream Theater album.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the first album that he had the 7 string on. It's really the first album that I got into, so it's more of a sentimental thing with that. But I may be in the minority with this, but Falling into Infinity is kind of like number 2 or 3 for me too.
Yes.
I still have my ticket stub from 1997 on the front row of that tour, so it's kind of I've come full circle with that.
Right.
But, that's up there for me too, man. Trial of Tears, I think that song makes that album for me. It's just the emotion of it.
Well, Brian, I think you just officially got fired from the show. I think Wayne's gonna be the new co-host.
Yeah, exact same too. John was gonna say so.
Yep, definitely Falling into Infinity for me. And Trial of Tears is my favorite Dream Theater song. So
yeah, it's up there for me. It's top 5 for me, man. But it's there's some albums that are okay. I mean, all of them are good, but there's some that I just didn't give enough listens to. Systematic Chaos is kind of like maybe my least favorite.
Okay.
I never really got to the Astonishing that much. The tour was absolutely amazing. Distance Over Time I was a little too close to. Train of Thought isn't necessarily one of my favorites either.
Okay.
I think the artwork's pretty cool, and I do like the heavy direction of it.
Yeah.
But it just kind of left me hanging a little bit, I guess. But I love Octavarium. Octavarium is one of my favorites. But,
Yep, that's a good one.
Yeah,
man, that sucks. That sucks that you feel too close to Distance Over Time. Like I really feel that for me that's probably my top 3. Like that record came out and that just blew me away. I was like, man, this record. I almost dropped an F-bomb, but like trying to keep those off the show. But I was like, man, this record slams, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah, I do. I think it's their best record since Scenes from a Memory. But it's really hard for me to put it with the rest of them, just because I lived it, for so long. But I remember when I got the first track off that to listen to was At Wit's End. Dude, I was so blown away.
Oh yeah,
love that guitar solo.
That lead that he goes into, I guess it's like 6 minutes into it.
Yep.
I was like, man, you guys have to play this live. And eventually they did put it into the set list. So that's one of their best songs too, I think.
Yeah. So Kale has another question for you. He says, here's an odd question. I don't know how odd this is, Kale. I think it's pretty normal. It's a good one, I think. Dream Theater comes to you, says, hey, we'd love to add a song to the set list just to have you animate any song you want. What song would you pick?
Oh, let's see, man. If I had a couple months to work on one song and do an animation to it, it'd have to be a Change of Seasons.
Nice.
I would love to do a story arc for that, bring it to life visually, and that's your mini movie right there. I would love to do like a little mini movie to Change of Seasons. I think that'd be so awesome.
That is a damn good pick, man.
Yes.
There's only one right answer, Wayne. It's Count of Tuscany.
That's number 2. That would be
seriously? Oh man, that would be awesome. You got to do it, man.
That would be so awesome too. Count of Tuscany, I think. Octavarium would be a cool one too.
Yep.
But definitely Change of Seasons.
Man, that I can, man, all like the different parts and stuff like that, like like the different suites of that man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was trying to think of like, man, he likes the heavier stuff. He likes Awake, and then he went Change his Seasons. I was like, damn, I should have thought about that. Like, I can't believe I missed that one. So, well, cool, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Wayne. Like, I really appreciate you making time. Yeah, anytime. We'll have to have you on again, and if you do end up working for the band again, we'll have to have you on and talk about that tour and stuff. Whatever you end up doing. So, hopefully you do, because again, I mean that staging for Distance Over Time was absolutely unbelievable. I mean,
I appreciate that.
like, oh, no problem. Like, I mean, you said it. Like, the presentation for The Astonishing was incredible. It was just huge, and then it just something about what you did for Distance Over Time just fit it so perfectly. And even going into stuff like Nightmare to Remember, and in the presence of enemies, like that kind of stuff. It was awesome. So, we'll have to keep in touch, man, and have you on again. So,
Anytime, bro. I appreciate it, man. It's been
Appreciate
a
you.
blast.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you, man. So thanks, everyone, for checking out another episode of Talking Into Infinity. Don't forget, our show airs live every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are on talkingintoinfinity.com, the show's YouTube page, or the CMSPN's YouTube page at youtube.com/CMS Classic Metal Show. If you missed the live broadcast, you can find the audio replays pretty much anywhere podcasts are available. And the video on-demand replays will be available on the CMS network the following Friday. So, Wayne, once again, thank you very much. We appreciate it. I'm your host, John. He is my buddy, Brian, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks.